All right, best time of the week, Slasher Sunday. Next up, we have Tourist Trap. Tourist. Now, I was looking up on my wall up here, and I have done almost every poster I have up here. And this will officially be all the slashers that I have up on my wall, which is kind of sad because I don't know. Those are the ones I was really excited to talk about. Not that I don't have plenty of others to talk about. I was just noticing that when I was looking up there, like, oh, this is it. This is the last one. So yeah. Now, I want to show you a bold-faced fucking lie. Remastered in high definition. Bullshit. This looks awful. Okay, so if you're thinking of picking up the Tourist Trap Blu-ray as an upgrade, don't bother. Because your DVD probably looks better. This is not remastered. I call bullshit Full Moon big time. I actually got this for signing up for Full Moon. They had like get 3 Blu-rays and a a subscription to Full Moon Online for like 3 months or something for like $20, something crazy cheap. And so I got this and Castle Freak and something else. The hell else did I get? I can't remember. Pit and the Pendulum with Lance Henriksen. But let's get into the movie. Now, the music that starts this, I feel like just gives this movie its very eerie, off kind of atmosphere and tone that retains throughout the whole film. I just love how odd and unique this film is. Now, this film was executive produced by Irwin Yablans, who did Halloween the year before this. This is 1979, that was 1978, so this was like his follow-up film. And there's something so creepy and eerie about this movie to me. Like, when the music, as I said, and then we move into this guy who's going to try to get his tire fixed, and he goes into this, store, and he goes in the back and he's trying to find somebody, and the door locks on him, and all these like heads are moving around and laughing, almost like Evil Dead 2 with like the laughing freaking bust the head on the wall, and then this like mouth at the like this head like turns like slowly, and then it like opens its mouth, and like the deepest noise you've ever heard like comes out. It's like, ooh, and then it like turns into a scream. I love the use of sound in this movie and the lack thereof. The music and everything's going strong. Things are being thrown around. Lots of sound is happening, and things are clamoring and clattering, and lots of big loud noises are going on. And then the guy gets hit by the pipe in the side, and he goes to scream. And right when it hits, it just makes the sound of like poof. It's real, like, just kind of subtle and quiet, and everything goes quiet. And then he just silently screams, and all we can hear is just the blood trickling out of the end of this open pipe, and then starts pouring as he falls over. It's so effective. And it's subtle little things like that just can totally change that whole scene. Like, if they added in his scream and kept the music blaring, I just don't feel like it would have been as effective. I don't feel like it would have been as creepy, as odd as it was. And they do that throughout the film. Like, when people are going to die, in their death sequences, everything just goes silent. And that lack of noise is what's scary. More so than the, big music and the screams and it's like, no, everything's just quiet. And you just get to watch this eerie imagery. And it's great. I'm getting really quiet. Just like the movie. See how effective it isn't for me? Yeah, I just think it works so fucking well. So everything that happens in that back room, that back store, the back room in the store is just eerie, creepy, so well done. Ugh, I love it. And then we move on to these hot babes who go skinny dipping, and not a nipple is seen, not a boob, nothing. I'm calling bullshit. Okay? You know what? Never mind. Fuck this movie. I'm not even going to review it. Why have 3 hot chicks, one of them is a Bond girl, get into a fucking, go literally skinny dipping? Like, we don't need our bathing suits. And they're all wearing like low cut tops with tons of cleavage. And then they like show them in the water, can't see any of the boobs. And then they cut to them like walking back to the car fully dressed. Ugh. Bullshit. Come on, man. Give us what we want. Then we get to the house and we see that he's got all these mannequins, and she's, one of them goes off and starts gallivanting around the property. I don't get to use that word enough. And I love when she's walking and like all the eyes of the mannequins start moving and following her. And that makes me wonder because, Mr. Slauson, Chuck Connor's character in this, he has, the ability to move objects with his mind, But does he have some kind of sight that he gets to use within these, mannequins and whatnot? Because he's not in the room. He's not around in that moment. And there's plenty of other times in the movie where things are kind of moving. He's in the vicinity, but he's not there. So those eyes moving, is he able to somehow see through them? Are they like his watchdogs? Do like in Big Trouble in Little China, Lopan sends out that freaking head with all the different eyes. It's like that. Is like, does he have eyes everywhere and can he see through them? I was wondering that when I was watching through this, and I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about that. I don't see why he would have all the eyes move. She can't see it. It's an effective thing for the film, of course, and you can just chalk it up to that. That's just there for, pure effect for people watching. But if you're going to try to come up with in-universe reasons, I have to wonder if he's able to somehow use these things as a conduit for sight. So, anyway. And another one, just here, same thing. Like when it's strangling her, like when it finally gets back and she's just silent. It's just awesome. And we then we move into her getting the, mask poured over her face. And his voice, the voice he has for when he's in his mask, is so fucking creepy as well. But his explaining everything that's happening to her and basically telling her what is all going to be happening. And I don't know if he's making this happen by either A, suggesting it to her, or B, being able to control certain elements of her body because he has the ability to move things with his mind. Because he's sitting there and he's like telling her, you're going to die from fright, and don't worry, you're not going to suffocate because your heart will explode first. And we hear her heart beating so fast and then it just stops. Now, is he responsible for that? Like, how could he possibly be able to predict such a thing? He's done this so many times, he just knows it's going to happen. How did he know they didn't suffocate? It doesn't matter. But I like to play around with the thought of how that's all playing out. Is he stopping her heart? Or is she actually dying of fright? Like the girl in Strangeland. There's a slasher movie I should do with Dee Snider. One of the girls in that movie dies from fright. You don't see that in movies very often. So, and the mask, I love the mask. It's all like two-pieced, and you can see his lips through it, and his eyes are all super dark, which he would have to be wearing makeup, and he's not in the next scene, but let's not. That doesn't matter. But I love the look of the mask. Definitely one of the more underappreciated masks from slasher films. I think it is as creepy as the big ones. And creepier than Jason's or anything. Like Jason's mask to me isn't creepy in the fucking slightest. It's just a hockey mask. I don't know why those guys thought. I mean, it's iconic now, of course, but in the moment, like when they were making that, and they were making that decision in part 3 to get him a new mask, and I was like, a hockey mask, really? Like, oh, I guess I wouldn't. I would have been like, oh, that's stupid. Let's keep the bag on his head. I think the bag is way creepier. But I think that they were worried that people were knocking them for the town that dreaded sundown, but whatever. I like the bag. But I like the fucking, I mean, that's not the Jason I got. I got the Jason with the hockey mask. So here I am. There's hypocritical Jason. I'm hypocritical Jason. Hockey mask Jason's on hypocritical Jason. But anyway. So, yeah, I just love when he's telling her all this shit that's happening to her as he's like suffocating her with the mask, which would just be such a terrible way. There's no good way to die. I always say it's such a terrifying way to die, but there are ways that just seem way more uncomfortable and painful and whatnot. And having your face slowly covered with something so that you can't breathe and knowing it's coming. Like being able to feel it on your face and then just like knowing eventually it's just gonna pop it over your nose. Like it just takes that, like you can put it over the entire face and then you just leave these little 2 spots open and then you just be like, wipe, dead. Just like one little push and you're finished. You can't breathe and you're dead. Ugh. And then we move on and, later into the film and he gives this final girl the shotgun and he comes out in the mask and shoots him and we find out it's blanks. And when she finds out it's blanks, I love her reaction. She doesn't like scream and then run away. She like is like, oh, so the gun is filled with blanks? Well, the gun is still solid, so let me crack you over the fucking head with it. That's the proper response. That's how you do it. I also love that the other girl gets killed in like a shooting gallery of sorts where all the, mannequins or wax museum statues or whatever you want to call them all come to life and all have guns, like real guns. So they get real bullets and the final girl gets blanks. But I just love he's sitting there and he's in the chair and he's laughing as they are just shooting her up and they're like bowing their hats and how he's able to control that many. I mean, his power is so strong that he's able to, fully, be able to make all of these bodies move at the same time in unison is impressive skill. And then we find out that he snapped because his wife and his brother were fucking around on him. And so he killed him and he thinks he has a legal right to do so. I'm pretty sure he's thinking of the wrong country. And then Jerry comes to save the day and we find out that Jerry is actually a mannequin. Which reminds me a lot of, Halloween 3. Which I guess if you haven't seen that movie for some fucking reason, I'm not going to say what, but if you've seen it, you know what the hell I'm talking about. But yeah, so the way I feel about that scene, because I have a couple things that I have a problem with there. Number one, I just feel like when the hell would he have had time to make him into one? He wouldn't have. That doesn't really matter. That's nitpicky as shit, but because he takes his head off, he takes his arm off, he takes his head off, and he smashes it on the ground. And I just think that was the wrong move because I think it would be a lot more effective and scary if he would have been moving her friends' dead bodies. Like he has the power to move a mannequin, he would have the power to move a corpse. So if he could have been actually using their corpses to walk around, and then he could have like had them like beating on themselves and crushing their faces in or cutting their own arms off, like proving that they're dead and he's in control of them. That would have been so much cooler. And at the very end, when she gets away from all of it, she drives off in the car with all of her friends, mannequins, in the car because she thinks she's saving them. She's lost her mind. Who knows? She thinks she's come to their rescue. But Jerry's mannequin is sitting right there in the front seat. Now, I guess it could be something else, and it sure as fuck doesn't look like a real person. But this movie plays with that a lot, where it's like, it doesn't look like a real person at all. It looks like a mannequin, and then it like switches and it's like a real person, because that's what happened is to Jerry. It's like he's a real guy. Like that's clearly a human being. And then it switches to him like yanking the head off, and it's so clearly not a human being. So it kind of plays with that whole, you know, giving liberty to the fact that it's a film, and that they couldn't recreate a face exactly, which you see in plenty of movies. But the fact that he just like, like that he's sitting in the front seat with her, and the fact that, you know, there's no way he had the time, and he could have just used the body, and why didn't she then take her friends' bodies? Why did she take the mannequins? Because her friends were still there, dead. So if they were already dead and she was going to be taking the mannequins, why did she take those over him? It's also like, huh? Okay, whatever. It makes for a cool last shot. Like, it shows that she's pretty much lost it, which could explain away a lot of that. Like, she's just crazy now. And you know, maybe she's kind of taken on Slosson's role and sees these mannequins as family, which is how he sees them. He sits in there in a mask, and he has a couple different masks that he wears, and he pretends to be parts of the family, and he has like all these different mannequins around the house who could be just different tourists that he killed, and, you know, made masks out of their shit, and made them into mannequins and disposed of their bodies, and maybe threw them in that little water hole, and that's what he thought they were gonna feel squirming around below him, was dead bodies. Who knows? Now I'm really going out there with theories. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess you could see it like that. Like, she's finally lost it. She's taken on Slosson's role, which I like. It's cool. But there's just a couple things I think would have been more effective and would have made more sense and wouldn't, you know. But yeah. So, and I think that's it. Yeah. All right, guys. Oh, Slasher Sunday. How I love thee. I always look forward to this. So until next week, we got Monster Monday tomorrow. And until then.